Originally, I had planned to do an elaborate opening, in which I get killed off in the previous video and come back as a ghost to possess Tank as soon as he puts on my hat. Then I got lazy. Enjoy the rest of the video. Ride on Time, Kamen Rider Den-O. Hello and welcome to Earth Alien ProtoMet, and today I'll be taking a look at the quirky time-traveling antics of Kamen Rider Den-O. Does this series stay the course, or does it get derailed? Let's find out! Ryotaro Nogami is a very unfortunate young man. He has the worst luck ever, and always gets himself into trouble completely by accident. But worst of all, he soon finds himself possessed by a quartet of ghost-like creatures called Imagine. The Imagine are creatures from a chaotic future who seek to grant wishes in order to travel back in time and cause havoc in the timeline. In order to stop the Imagine, Ryotaro must join forces with the Imagine that have possessed him and use the power of a time-traveling train to battle against the sinister Imagine as Kamen Rider Den-O. Who knows? Maybe he'll figure out just why his sister has lost her memories of her missing fiancé. Wait, a time-traveling train? Seems kind of random to have a train that can time travel, right? Well, don't worry, the show explains it. By choosing not to explain it and just stating that it works regardless of the fact that no one knows why. Also, time is people's memories. No wonder we've never been able to figure it out. As it turns out, Ryotaro, for all his misfortune, is what's known as a junction point, a person in time who will remain unaffected by the time-meddling antics of the Imagine, even if the world around him is distorted. And the actor does a fantastic job playing not only the pathetic hero of the story, which I mean in the best way possible, but also as a conduit for the various Imagine that possesses him. He convincingly plays the different roles perfectly, and it's one of the many highlights of the show. There's also Ryotaro's somewhat oblivious but very kind-hearted older sister, Irie Nogami, who runs a small coffee shop. She's quite a beauty who attracts all sorts of men to the shop, who all quietly fawn over her. Among them are Seiji Ozaki, a journalist and a bit of a playboy, who can often reveal a clue to Ryotaro's search for the Imagine, and Issei Miura, a spiritualist who takes notice of the fact that Ryotaro is being possessed by what he believes to be evil spirits. But all of them have no clue about Ryotaro's situation, and just continue their lives as though nothing's wrong. Helping Ryotaro are the crew of the time-traveling train Denliner. There's Hana, who, like Ryotaro, is a junction point from a now-destroyed future, who despises the Imagine and their plan to ruin time. She packs a mean punch, and she often has to assert her dominance to keep Ryotaro's Imagine in check. There's also Naomi, the Denliner's waitress, who is really just there to provide company for the enigmatic owner, the mysterious man who, owns the Denliner, and who knows the most about what's going on, but rarely ever lets on more than a simple man who just wants to enjoy a plate of fried rice. And of course, there are the four Imagine that possess Ryotaro. There's the hot-headed Oni punk Momotaros, who's too brash for his own good and controls Den-O's sword form. Then there's the compulsive liar and playboy turtle Urataros, who can string anyone along with his deceptive hooks, and who controls Den-O's rod form. The strong bear-like musclehead Kintaros is an immovable force who stands firm as Den-O's axe form. And rounding things out is the childish dragon Ryutaros, who just wants to have fun, even at others' expense, and who controls Den-O's erratic gun form. These four Imagine, collectively called the Taros, are among the only good Imagine in the series, as they're not too concerned about derailing the future and just enjoy hanging out with Ryotaro and the rest of the crew. But that brings us to the bad Imagine, who are all modeled after legends and folktales, and who violently fulfill the wishes of their often helpless contract holders to rampage in the past. But thankfully, Ryotaro and the Taros aren't alone in the mission of preserving time, as they're soon joined by Yuto Sakurai, a standoffish young man who is the younger version of Irie's missing fiancé, the older version of which keeps popping up throughout time. And with the help of his kindly Imogene partner Deneb, who constantly tries to help Yuto make friends, despite Yuto's wishes, the pair battle as Kamen Rider Zeronos. They also have their own time-traveling train, the Zero Liner. The interactions between all the characters is incredibly entertaining. Unfortunately, for as great as the characters are, the main plot is easily the weakest part of this show. The show does set up the mystery of why Yuto has caused Irie to forget about him, and why the Imogene are even attacking the timeline at all. But ultimately, this story is not very satisfying, and while it is acceptable, you're definitely going to remember this show for the characters rather than the plot. It has been over a decade since Kamen Rider Den-O ended, but that doesn't mean the fun stopped there. Even while the series was airing, the show's summer movie, I'm Born, has Den-O and friends battling a time bandit trying to destroy time itself. And not only is it built up in the show, it also has a lasting impact on the show's plot. After the show ended, there was Climax Deca, a crossover movie with the following season, Kamen Rider Kiva. That was definitely more of a Den-O movie that just happened to have Kiva characters in it for a bit. This was followed up by another movie, Saraba Kamen Rider Den-O, that introduced Ryotaro's future grandson, Kotaro, and his Imogene partner, Teddy. After that was Cho Kamen Rider Den-O, which, much like Climax Deca, featured the characters from Kamen Rider Decade, but only for a little bit. So, to rectify that, we got a trilogy of movies, each focusing on specific side characters from the series. The first movie, Episode Red, explored the relationship between Yuto and Irie and how it's changed over the series, and it's my personal favorite of the three. The second, Episode Blue, focuses on Kotaro and Teddy, and is also pretty good. And finally is Episode Yellow, which focuses on Kamen Rider D-End, the secondary-ish rider from Kamen Rider Decade, and also has the Taros getting up to hijinks. It's the weakest of the trilogy, in my opinion. But that's not all, as there was also a short-form anime that has the Taros getting goofy, including a brief crossover with Ultraman Taro. The cast have also appeared in still more crossover movies. There's Let's Go Kamen Riders, where the Taros and the cast of Kamen Rider O's royally screw up the Kamen Rider timeline by messing up the ending of the original series. Then there's Superhero Taisen, where the Den-Lighter provides the main cast of the film the means to travel back in time to figure out why the Kamen Riders and the Super Sentai are fighting each other. Heck, you can bet any time characters in the franchise need to time travel, the Den-O cast will probably pop up, even when alternatives such as Kamen Rider Zeo exist. Heck, just last year there was yet another Den-O special, Pretty Den-O, that's a random little adventure for the Taros to have fun playing in. While the plot isn't spectacular, Kamen Rider Den-O is practically a required watch if you're looking to get into the franchise. And I look forward to whatever the Taro's next misadventure is, whenever it comes out. So, until next time, this has been me, ProtoMet. See ya!